When it comes to Korea, we do not hear much about this country. North Korea always has drama with KimJongUn. South Korea has less drama, but still very little is known about Korea in general. In this video, you'll learn quite a bit, from a high school that goes on until midnight and the art of eating a live octopus. Hold up as we start hitting the subscribe button and let's get right into it.
Traffic ladies. Snapping their heads from side to side, marching into the roads in close-fitting blue uniforms and black heels, the traffic ladies who marshal vehicles at the intersections of Pyongyang are an emblematic image of the North Korean capital. Officially known as traffic security officers but universally referred to as traffic ladies, they're chosen for their looks in a society that remains traditionalist in many respects. They must leave the role if they marry and have a finite shelf life, with compulsory retirement looming at just 26.
Transport subsidies for pregnant women. In June 2022, the Seoul government in South Korea started giving pregnant women subsidies. To qualify, you need to have lived in Seoul for 6 months. Subsidies add up to $540 in credit card points and applies to public transport and gas bills. These subsidies are available for 43,000 eligible applicants. Mayor Oh Se-hun's made a campaign pledge and stuck to his guns and made it a reality. His logic was the need to alleviate the burden on people who have babies. The only equivalent of this in America is getting free government Medicare if you don't have insurance, and this is not even very well curated. Starving soldiers. North Korea has limited trade with other nations, therefore there are minimal opportunities to import food. Resultantly, the country has to depend on its own food production. In the past, poor harvests have led to the famine in which millions perished. In such situations, other states offered food aid, but North Korean authorities did not agree to allow foreign aid workers across its borders. The military has not been an exception in this regard. Soldiers are fed only the basic cheap food available locally, such as rice, corn and cabbage. They depend on seasonal harvests, potatoes in June and corn in August. The standard weight for each meal is to be 200 to 300 grams, but several reports have indicated that it hardly weighs 140 grams. Insufficient food leads to malnutrition and weight loss amongst most of the soldiers within 6 months. In 2015, a secret recording showed soldiers dangerously weak and exhausted. The precarious food situation has even forced senior military leadership to encourage the soldiers to steal food and livestock for their units. When soldiers become too malnourished, they're granted home leave so their families can feed them and return once they've become healthy. This terrible cycle continues until the retirement of a soldier.
So many Kims. If there's one thing North Koreans are forced to pretend they love, it's propaganda pictures of Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il and Kim Jong-un. You'll see posters of these three men, the founder of DPRK, his son and successor, and his grandson and the country's current leader, respectively, pretty much everywhere you look. There are massive billboards of their faces plastered around cities, and there are portraits of Sung, Il and Un hung in every home. By de facto law, by the way. And usually these charming guys are depicted with huge grins.
Giving and receiving gifts. On a normal day, most people don't mind splitting the bill amongst the different people dining. Even easier is to request that everyone gets their separate bill. This is not the case in Korea. There's usually a competition on who will get the bill first and clear the entire bill. It's considered an honourable thing to do. That is such a grand gesture. When it comes to gift giving, when one is given a gift, you need refuse the gift about 4 times. When it comes to borrowing and loaning money, Koreans prefer to ask family and friends as opposed to borrowing from banks to protect their tax information from being out there. Squalid living conditions. Administration and arranging comfortable living for a military of over 1 million is not an easy task. Accordingly, the poor economy of North Korea is not capable of providing a conducive environment to the soldiers of the Korean People's Army. About 20 soldiers share a congested room of small concrete barracks spread all over the country. For storing personal belongings and uniforms, each soldier is provided with a small set of drawers. They sleep on bunk beds having hard mattresses made of cheap rice chaff, which soaks up all the sweat, and the rooms become full of a foul odour. In some barracks, running water is not available, and soldiers wash outside with water drawn from wells or hoses. They hardly get warm water in even cold winter, and no cooling arrangements are provided during the summers. Soldiers usually live in such conditions for an initial 8 years. Poorly ventilated rooms lead to the quick spread of diseases among soldiers. The outbreak of SARS in the early 2000s is believed to have caused numerous deaths in the military. The impact of the COVID-19 pandemic has been no less devastating.
Forced to poop. Fertilizer is essential for the spring sowing season, but North Korea has almost no chemical fertilizer, so the government ordered every person to produce hundreds of kilograms, said a Beijing source in 2013. Hundreds of kilograms of human waste per person is a tough enough task even on a British diet, so how the starvation-ration North Koreans were expected to cope is a mystery. Rumours abound in some parts of the internet that part of a groundbreaking deal with the US has been made to provide North Korea with Shia LaBeouf, who's rumoured to be the very pinnacle of human waste production.
Brainwashed from birth. It's interesting to know how Kim has managed to enroll this many people into his army despite dismal living and economic conditions. The sole reason is brainwashing of the kids. Children as young as 4 years old are indoctrinated into the ruling Workers' Party's militaristic ideologies. Their nurseries are decorated with cartoon soldiers carrying different weapons. Their books also illustrate strong military iconography. Propaganda cartoons containing characters equipped with loaded guns fighting and destroying their enemies are also shown. Children, even toddlers, are dressed in impressive military uniforms. A most disturbing aspect relates to the North Korean equivalent of Boy Scouts, known as Korean Children's Union, who sing songs displaying loyalty to Kim. Translation of one such lyric goes, 3 million Boy Scouts will be guns and bombs. We will be guns and bombs for the general. In other words, they promise to lay down their lives for KimJongUn. Traditional clothing for the Korean New Year. The world is changing. Deep-rooted cultures that most people used to hold dear are being eroded. As this happens worldwide, it is also affecting Korea. The traditional handbook dress was associated with the Korean New Year celebration. The dress style is borrowed from the 17th and 18th centuries and the Joseon dynasty. The dress is a two-piece that is made of silk and cotton. Getting dolled up and celebrating the New Year, also the Lunar Year, was a big deal in the past when people celebrate good health and good fortune. Korean families have become smaller with fewer children, meaning the celebrations are not as grand. Bean leave. In May 2021, Korean Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un issued a direct order which indicated that military soldiers were suffering from extreme malnutrition, and he directed that each soldier must be given at least one bean-based meal like soybeans or tofu daily. Commanders failing to implement this order were to be punished mercilessly. Having no other means for food supply, the Korean military's logistics department acted upon a novel idea. Soldiers coming from prosperous families were sent on 10 to 14 days leave to their homes, and on return everyone was bound to bring at least 300 kilograms of beans. In case they could not manage to get beans, they could bring corn or rice. It was an horrendous proposition for most of the soldiers as they come from rural backgrounds. They were to choose an option between either depriving their families of food or seeing their units starving.
Fake missiles everywhere. The North Korean military loves staging huge Soviet-style parades that put their apparent martial might on full display. The problem is that a lot of the weapons and military vehicles they claim to have are either non-existent or at least woefully ineffective. Still others are simply fakes. International experts agree that this was the case in April of 2017, when a massive parade of military hardware and munitions seemed to include a number of dummy missiles. The apparently fake weaponry wobbled as if hollow, and some of the weapons had nose cones that were clearly out of alignment. Just an FYI to the DPRK, fake it till you make it doesn't work if a shooting war breaks out.
Special school uniforms. When it comes to uniforms, a lot has evolved in the States. 22% of elementary schools, 19% of middle schools, and 10% of high schoolers wear uniforms. In Korea, uniforms are a vibe. Almost all elementary and high schools require students to wear uniforms. There are uniforms for different regions in Korea and different schools, and depending on the grades, the uniforms change. They're called jeobokes. Boys and girls wear different uniforms. The uniforms vary with seasons, whereby in summer they're navy blue and in winter they are grey. Another set of uniforms is worn during physical education. The uniforms include blazers, sweaters, jackets, pleated skirts, long dress trousers, ties and vests.
Magic medicine. If you're very sick and looking for cutting-edge healthcare, head to North Korea. Despite being behind in so many ways, the country has invented a miracle drug that cures most of the worst diseases known to humanity. Of course, you have to take their word for it, but they wouldn't lie, right? According to Noseweek, in 2015, the country's official Korean Central News Agency reminded the world their scientists had invented the Kumdang-2 vaccine in 1996. They also trumpeted it in 2006 and 2013, per The Guardian. It was a cure for Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, or MERS. But that's not all this amazing drug can do. It also treats diabetes, drug addiction, bird flu, AIDS, heart disease, impotence, the common cold, harm from use of computers, insomnia, epilepsy, cystitis, all forms of hepatitis, tuberculosis, various cancers and venereal disease, as well as offering resistance to aging and anti-radioactive, plus SARS and Ebola, because why not? Convinced yet? And North Korea offered clinical evidence saying that the drug had been used on millions of patients. The secret of this medical marvel? It's made from ginseng that's been grown in fertilizer, hopefully not the human poop kind, mixed with rare earth elements, gold and platinum. And the outside world could even buy the prayer-answering drug from a North Korean website for about $25.
Korean Soju. The most popular alcohol in most places is vodka, but this is not the case in Korea. The alcohol of choice in Korea is a spirit called Soju, which has about 20% alcohol content. This is quite different from vodka, which is about 40% alcoholic. Soju also has less burn compared to vodka, meaning it can be served more often during the day and used as a base for many cocktails. There are no specified ingredients, as different distillers make it differently. Soju is popular in many Asian countries and can also be found in states such as California and New York. Very few public trash cans. In most countries, if you buy lunch outdoors, you dispose of your trash in the establishment's trash can. In Korea, things are a little different. You would have to wrap your trash and dispose of it in your home. In 2007, 3,900 trash cans were removed from public areas. This was an attempt by the government to avoid people from disposing of their trash in public trash cans. This was in line with a system set up in 1995 called Zangyongji, where residents are supposed to be responsible and pay for their trash. Over time, this has become a disaster, as most residential areas are filled up with overflowing trash. This has made it a necessity to set up a few public trash cans. So far, 2,500 have been installed. This is nothing compared to the 20,000 public trash cans available in Paris and Berlin. They have no choice. North Korean Supreme Leader has enforced conscription in the country. Every 17-year-old boy and girl has to register for military service. Astonishingly, sons and daughters of several political party members and elites are given exemption. KimJongUn is commander of the entire military, but he never served in it in any branch. During the reign of his grandfather Kim Il-sung, soldiers used to join the military voluntarily. However, in the regime of Kim Jong-un's father, Kim Jong-il, the economy markedly declined, leading to a reduction in military rewards. So he started relying heavily on conscription. Military service usually lasted 13 years, but the directive issued in January 2021 has reduced it to 8 years for males, whereas between 5 to 8 years for females. In 2012, the minimum height for joining the military by men was reduced from 145 centimetres to 142 centimetres. Second-rate training. On joining KPA, soldiers undergo basic training encompassing the fundamentals of fighting for the initial 6 months. Keeping in mind the heavy cost of vehicles, fuel and ammunition, training is predominantly physical drills focused on repetition and memorization. It also includes extensive night training. As per a report, daily routine training goes from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. and only 3 hours as free time. They're also expected to grow crops and raise livestock to meet the military's food requirements. Subsequently, they move on to special training in line with their posting to the allocated division. Soldiers are also selected to show their skills in front of the camera, which includes smashing bricks with bare fists and even taking blows to their abdomens. They usually spend 6 months preparing for a single parade that involves synchronization of foot movements. Some defectors pointed out that 60% of training is ideological, creating a sacrificial mentality to protect the Kim family at the peril of their own life.
Fashion police. One way to keep people in line, so the thinking goes, is to put them in uniforms. When everyone looks the same, it's harder to rebel. Clothing is a huge part of self-expression, so North Korea controls everything about its citizens' appearances. Women's looks must fit the socialistic way of life, while those who express individuality in their attire should be shamed. While a report that there were only a small number of haircuts allowed in North Korea was never confirmed, the magazine did dictate that women could not grow their hair long. Since people like to dress how they want, there is rebellion. The New York Times reports women in Pyongyang often wearing stiletto heels, skirts above the knee, and colourful clothing. There's a thriving black market of clothes and makeup from South Korea. In order to clamp down on these shows of expression, there are literal fashion police. A women's union carrying whistles enforces the rule for ladies, while the Socialist Youth League keeps young people in check. Punishment can happen right on the street and ranges from being berated to having your hair cut off to being beaten.
High schoolers studying until midnight. A regular student in Korea will wake up at 6:30 a.m. in readiness to go to school. Some will wake up a little bit earlier than that. They mostly spend the better part of the school day at the public school till about 4 or 5 p.m. It, however, does not end there, whereby they go for private tuition from 6 to 9 p.m. and later do some self-studying for 2 hours. They get home around 11 p.m. and after dinner and a shower they sleep and wake up again at 6:30 a.m. Koreans are considered high achievers and parents spend a lot of money on private tuition and tutoring. Due to the few natural resources in Korea, it's ingrained in them that their academic excellence is one of the things that can give them good standing in society. Matching clothes for couples. Korea would be the absolute worst place to be single. When you turn left or right, you'd see signs of bragging couples. The trend of wearing matching outfits has hit off in South Korea. Most stores have his and hers matching outfits as well as gender-neutral outfits such as overalls. Couples in Korea openly showcase their love both online and offline. They hang out together, post their couples' activities on social media, and take vacations together once a month. The trend for matching clothing is also catching on in other places. Single people need to take cover.
Honeytrap schemes. When foreigners, especially South Korean or Japanese businessmen and journalists visit North Korea, they're assigned a handler. Sometimes the handler is a pretty female, and romance blossoms between the foreigner and their North Korean handler, or at least the man believes that this is the case. A while after the man has left North Korea, they'll be told that their handler has given birth to their child. The foreign national is now in the grip of North Korean regime and can be swayed to support North Korea, either by sending money to the regime directly, reporting favourably on the regime, or injecting investment capital into North Korea. The scheme, dreamed up by KimJongUn, serves another purpose. The half-foreign children can be brainwashed by the regime and turned into spies who can be sent abroad and will blend in more effectively with foreign populations. The children are raised in special areas of Pyongyang, and their every need is looked after by the regime. They are kept as both future assets and hostages.
Korean barbecue. Sometimes when you think of barbecue, you're not sure if the food options you have will be enough for everybody. Ordering in is always a bad idea since you don't know what will be sufficient. Guests might show up with a +1 or 2. This is not the case in Korea, where a barbecue is a full-on meaty, well-curated affair. First, there is the galbi and the bulgogi, which are short ribs and sliced rib brisket or sirloin. There's additionally dolji bulgogi, which is pork bulldog and some fire chicken, some all-time fave spicy sweet sauce known as zang, which works with everything, from seafood to veggies. Other than the meat, there are lettuce and perilla leaves used to wrap meat. You'll also find Korean chilies, scallions, toasted sesame seeds and garlic cloves as garnish. Rice and pickles are also on the menu. On the drinks menu, crates of soju, some wine and beer will quench the thirst. All day, every day. In addition to tough training, leave and passes are rare for North Korean soldiers and are strictly controlled by senior members. They are permitted 2 weeks leave just once or twice in their entire tenure of service. Generally, they are granted leave for up to 10 days only. While on duty but not undergoing training, soldiers are deployed to help farmers in crops or carry out manual labour. In 2016, soldiers were deployed on 2 mega projects, the Tanchon Hydroelectric Power Station and Seppo Tableland project. Female soldiers are also employed for cooking. Soldiers can be assigned any task like acting as traffic wardens or even tour guides. They don't eat dogs. It's out of this world thinking that the dog you hold dear can be a delicacy in other cultures. In the past, Koreans ate dogs. They were as much a delicacy as chicken or beef. In more recent times, things are changing, and a survey done in 2020 revealed that fewer people had eaten dog meat. At least 60% expressed that they would want to see the eating of dog meat outlawed. It's harder to find a restaurant with dog meat on the menu, but in a few quarters dog meat is still served. It's a bit of a grey area, and in 2021 the South Korean government was considering outlawing dog meat. Pitiful pay. An average North Korean earns just 4% of their South Korean neighbours. Official figures indicate that their average earning is $100 per month per individual, but most of the soldiers are believed to get less than that. They're paid in non-cash items like food and daily necessities. In 2021, food shortages worsened and a kilogram of bananas cost $45. Similarly, shampoo costs $200 a bottle. North Korean citizens prefer to use cash instead of depositing savings in banks that are controlled by the government that can refuse the withdrawal of currency. People are not conversant with the payment systems. In 2013, it was reported that senior rank officers were given incentives for maintaining loyalty. 4-star generals were paid $1,200 monthly, whereas 3-star generals got $1,000 and 2-star generals received just $700. Contrarily, in the USA, the starting rate for a general is $16,600 per month. Workaholism is a big deal. In South Korea, workaholism is not a reality that has had dire consequences. For a long time, the average working hours was 60 per week, which when you think about it means you're working at least 10 hours a day for 6 days. This is the experience of family life, social life and recreation. In 2018, the government established a new law and the weekly working hours were slashed from 68 to 52 hours, and any employees who violated this rule were imprisoned for 2 years or paid 20 million won or $18,000 in fines. There have been some cases where some people have worked themselves to death. One family man who worked in a factory whereby during the weeks he was up and down going to the different branches, on the weekends filling paperwork and when at home still receiving calls and solving issues, was found dead in his office one bright sunny morning. Dishonor is desirable. Dishonorable discharge is the most despised type of discharge from military service all over the world. However, it's considered to be the most desirable option for North Korean soldiers. A soldier dishonorably discharged is automatically expelled from the Workers' Party and cannot become party official even after getting better resources. It's considered to be the ultimate punishment for a North Korean citizen. Reportedly, soldiers have understood that they would be much better off when out of military service being low paid and employed for hard labour. Some of them assist smugglers and traffickers on borders for getting bribes. On making good money, they get themselves dishonourably discharged and lead a comparatively luxurious life. Jjimjilbang public bathhouses. When you visit Korea, you have to experience the Jjimjilbang bathhouses, most of which are sex segregated. They are places for relaxation with a sauna, a hot tub, showers, a place for a massage and a place to sleep, and they also have a TV room and exercise rooms. The bathhouses are open 24/7 and most families come here for a quote-unquote time for relaxation, costing between 8,000 and 12,000 won, or about $8. Sometimes you can also order beverages and snacks. Commanded to cry. During visits by Kim Jong-un to soldiers or while he is witnessing parades, a lot of troops start weeping. It seems that they are moved to tears of joy or awe due to the presence of their supreme leader. Mass mourning sites are also observed at the ceremonies held in remembrance of their previous leader, Kim Jong-il. It may be the result of brainwashing carried out over the years, but it's also pretended to avoid punishments inflicted on soldiers found not displaying true love to the leader. In 2012, after Kim Jong-il's passing, a lot of soldiers who did not participate in mass mournings were sent to hard labour camps for up to 6 months. Therefore, in the presence of Kim Jong-un, soldiers start wailing and clapping as if they are overwhelmed by emotions. It's better to cry on command instead of facing hard labour. They can never leave. You may think why the distressed soldiers of North Korea don't get rid of military service. Well, refusing to perform military duty can lead to heavy punishments, even to death. The only possible option is to leave the country. North Korean Ministry of People's Security doesn't permit its citizens to go abroad except on special assignments to friendly countries like China. But they're not treated as refugees, they're rather handed back to the North Korean government. The only possibility remains crossing over to South Korea through 2.5 miles wide demilitarized zone which is mined. North Korean officials deployed there are well paid in the hope to avoid defection. But incidents continue to take place. Defector Oh Chong-song, a high military official, made a snap decision to cross the demilitarized zone, although he was chased and fired upon 40 times. Luckily, he managed to cross over and was saved by South Korean soldiers. Free walking tours. When you visit South Korea and you want to get a good feel of the place, you can sign up for the free walking tours, provided by students for free. The students want to polish their English as they showcase the best of their cities. You can visit many places such as the Sky Park Seafood Market and the street food ordered by an art major student. You can also climb hundreds of stairs leading to Hangoa and enjoy the beautiful skyline over the city of Seoul and the Hana River. You can also visit the park renowned for its silver grass. Most tours also have a quick pit stop for a snack of iron stomach sanakji, which is a Korean delicacy, chopped octopus in sesame oil.
Not a lot of TV options. If you love kicking back in front of the television to enjoy a wide range of fine programming, then remember not to move to North Korea. While the rest of us are suffering from information overload brought on by the hundreds of channels piped in via cable, satellite and streaming services, North Korea has a whopping 4 TV channels, all of which are owned and strictly controlled by the government. Most programs are fake and/or curated news or pure propaganda, although sometimes there's sports and cartoons. Leisure Squad. The country has a group in the military called the Leisure Squad. It consists of pretty young girls, and you probably have guessed their main duty: to accompany high-ranking officials and military men in their free time. The criteria included choosing girls, those who are under 165 centimeters tall, free of blemishes, scars, pretty, and the ones with a sweet and feminine voice. But being a virgin is most important. But make no mistake, these girls are still part of the regular army. If there's war, they can be commanded.
Korean karaoke bars. Korea is known for its fun nightlife full of city lights, where you can find a wide variety of karaoke bars known as noraebang. Depending on your budget, you can settle on different experiences. One popular place is the Helicon, which also has a nice array of Korean delicacies for you to sample as you decide on your song. For more budget-friendly experiences, at the noraebang you sing one or multiple songs either in groups or solo. You can also find other places that additionally offer gaming and film theatre and karaoke. Eating live octopus. When it comes to eating live octopus, you either love it or hate it. For the restaurants that serve this delicacy, the octopus is chopped right after you order and is brought to you as the tentacles are still wiggling. A small octopus can be served whole with its 8 tentacles, and it's a real sport eating something that is still alive and well. Eating this delicacy, better known as sonakshi, is the best way to be initiated into Korean living. Octopus sashimi is offered in a variety of places. Horrendous healthcare. North Korean citizens are provided healthcare by the government. Similarly, the North Korean military has its own dedicated hospitals. However, defectors have revealed that the condition of these hospitals is dismal, as no medicine or equipment is available there. If a medicine is provided, even soldiers are charged for it. Hospitals have cheap disinfectant iodine in abundance. Compared to the tough training and expected injuries, the healthcare system seems to be quite terrifying, and numerous persons resort to natural remedies and herbs for treating illness. In December 2020, a report showed that half of the country's 1st Corps, an infantry unit having 5,000 troops, were sick to the extent that they could not undergo training. Worse for women. Conditions for women in KPA are quite unhealthy. Resulting from 6 months of extensive initial training coupled with malnutrition makes them weak to the extent that numerous female soldiers stop menstruating. In some cases it may happen for several years, but it's considered a blessing. Before 2017, instead of sanitary products, most women soldiers were provided only bandages or used cloth. Senior officers are allegedly known to sexually harass their under-command female soldiers. North Korea claims to take this offence seriously, and a person found guilty is awarded imprisonment for 7 years. Often, senior officers blackmail women by threatening to block their chances of joining the party if they report the incident, so they suffer silently. An unceremonious end. Military persons all over the world are assured that in case of death their families will be taken care of. But in North Korea, if a soldier dies during the performance of active duty, maybe on borders or training, their families get nothing. They're only granted a certificate confirming that the soldier fell in the line of duty out of loyalty to the Workers' Party. They do not get a benefit even worth a single penny. Sadly, this continues to be the fate of the martyrs' families to date.
Kim Jong-il's lifeless body. Not only is the lifeless body of the late leader Kim Jong-il embalmed and on display in a purpose-built mausoleum, but in fact the dictator's corpse is arguably the most popular tourist attraction in the entire country. Kim Jong-il died at age 70 in December of 2011, but he's still wildly popular with his countrymen who throng to his very public resting place. Quick sidebar, it's reported that Kim, already in a weak health in the years leading up to his death, died as a result of a heart attack brought on by a fit of rage. Seems fitting, right? Internet. Censorship in North Korea ranks among one of the most extreme in the world, with the government able to take strict control over communications. North Korean citizens are only allowed to browse 28 websites on the internet. Their intranet, which is called Kwangmyong or Bright, through which internet is accessed, is free to use for those with access to a computer. The computers, however, are very expensive and one needs prior permission from the government to buy one. 3 generations rule. One of the country's most brutal laws is the 3 generations of punishment rule. If one person is convicted of a serious crime and sent to a prison camp, their immediate family can also be sent with them. Then the next 2 generations born in the camps can also remain there. The edict was introduced in 1972 by Kim Il-sung and said to up to 3 generations had to be punished to wipe out the seed of class enemies. Crimes for which North Koreans can find themselves sent to a prison camp can allegedly include failure to wipe dust off portraits of Kim Il-sung and having contact with South Koreans. Conditions in the country's prison and labour camps are notoriously harsh. Survivors have described prisoners becoming stunted and deformed from carrying out hard labour for 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Clothing and food are said to be so scarce, inmates are forced to survive on any animals they can capture, such as rats. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please let me know by clicking the like button. Do share, write a comment, and don't forget to subscribe so that you can catch up my next video.